Hey, this is Kat from Red Mountain Shaman, and I share shamanic wisdom through dreams, visions, nature, synchronicities, intuition, channeling, art, music, photography, and shamanic journeys. Welcome back to my channel and happy Solstice. There is so much energy going around this week, and especially yesterday and today, that I just have a lot to talk about, and there are so many thoughts running through my mind and so much I experienced this week spiritually. So hopefully I wrote a lot of notes, and hopefully I can kind of keep things straight. So if I seem a little bit scattered, it's just because I just have so many thoughts and downloads kind of coming in this past week. So the first thing I noticed that is kind of unfolding, if you remember a couple of weeks back, I put out a video and it has a T46 on the cover of the video. And that was my part of my license plate, and it's caught my eye recently. And so I really was explaining in that video that I felt something would be coming out about the 2020 shenanigans. And so this week, President Trump is actually calling for a formal investigation into the EFRAUD. So that'll be interesting because there is a lot of shenanigans that went down. And I think they're going to put out the truth. I think the truth is going to come out soon. The next thing I saw, this was kind of in somebody's session, was a symbol, and it was a hammer. And I think it has a lot of layers of meaning. The hammer spiritually represents strength, creation, destruction, and transformation. So I think the hammer was kind of coming into that session to just, it feels like a very collective energy right now that we're going through. And that is the destruction of the old corruption and these old systems that are no longer serving us, so that we can transform. And then we can move into our strength, our power, and into creation mode, and start rebuilding the new. So another thing, a synchronicity that happened was the next morning, a video popped up on my feed, and the title of the video was, I think it was ICE puts the hammer down on sanctuary cities. So I think the hammer is coming down on corruption. And then another thing I saw was that in the future, like, I don't know how far in the future, but I feel like I mentioned travel will start opening up and more unity. So I think these borders that we have and having to maintain them so tightly right now is because of there is just so much corruption. And I think this is really going to lead back to the kid transporting of children, the transporting of substances that are really keeping us in low consciousness, just horrible things that are a result of these open borders right now. But I think as that is kind of cleared out and resolved, I think down the road a bit, I don't think that our borders are going to be as tight and as strict, and I think we will move into more unity, hopefully, because I think that the borders and these different flags, they can be a good thing and a sign of, people's culture, patriotism, and that, but it can also be division and divisive in when we're keeping these borders. And I think part of the agenda is to keep us all in separation, but really everybody, we're all one on this planet. So it's kind of like a nuanced thing. Like, I see it both positive and negative. So that's kind of how I'm viewing it spiritually. Okay, so the next thing I noticed that's going on right now is that a lot of people, even in the spiritual community, are really getting into these AI chatbots. And when they're listening to their phone, like, they'll film themselves and make videos of the chatbot's response, and they just look like they're in awe, or they're just so surprised or amazed that the AI is like coming up with these amazing perspectives or whatever. So I wanted to ask Spirit about that. And this kind of started happening at the beginning of the week. And so in one of my sessions, we went into this, and this is with a woman that I've worked with a few times, and she said I could talk about this. So in her session, we saw that this AI kind of consciousness isn't a new thing. It goes way back, and we saw that it was affecting Atlantis. So I think Atlantis maybe started out good, or there was good parts of it, but then it really got into the AI thing or the transhumanist thing. I mean, these are two different things, but I think they're all kind of connected to the inorganic path. And when I was kind of remote viewing the past of Atlantis, it just looked like it ended up like very gray, almost like a dingy energy and a very low vibrational energy, almost like it wasn't even an organic energy anymore. It like kind of devolved into an inorganic frequency that permeated everything. And I think that's what fell. And I even really feel like there's beings that have gone the route of transhumanism and AI and just this total technological kind of paradigm of man. And like, I personally think that's why we have these gray beings, these gray aliens, because they went that route, and now they don't have any sex attributes of gender. They have these big empty looking eyes. They have gray skin. They're not connected to source anymore. So that's my own opinion. So take that or leave it. But that's kind of how I see things. And then so in this session, I also saw a being, and it had like these big wires and cords coming out of it. And they were connected to this big, huge, almost like a circuit board. And so I was asked Spirit during this session, I'm like, what is this that I'm seeing? And I just heard the term, the Borg. So I kind of knew that the Borg is something like inorganic, but I wanted to kind of go in deeper. And so after that session, I looked up online what the Borg is. And ironically, I'm using AI to get my answer of what the Borg was. So it's not like I'm a purist and like I never use AI. I try to take the middle path and, use it to the point that it's assisting me, but not completely connecting to it all the time. So yeah, I think there are some cultures that maybe are completely free of any kind of human technology. But I feel like most of us are living in a world where it's all around us, and it's really hard to function without some form of this technology. So I'm going to ask Spirit about that as well. So anyway, what came up with this answer from Google is about Star Trek, and that the Borg represents the concept of perfection that is achieved through the assimilation of other species and their technology into a collective consciousness. So I never watched Star Trek, so I'm glad that I looked this up, because that's probably why I didn't really know what the Borg meant. So it also says they sought to enhance themselves and others by combining the distinctiveness of various life forms, striving for a state of integrated, homogeneous perfection. While not a traditional religion with gods or dogma, some interpretations see their quest for perfection and the Borg collective as analogous to a belief system or ideology. They view assimilation as a means to improve the quality of life for all species. Although this process involves the forcible annihilation of individual identity. This pursuit of unified, perfective state, even at the cost of individuality, can be seen as a distorted form of spiritual or philosophical aspiration. Furthermore, the Borg are often interpreted as a symbol of our collective unconscious, particularly its destructive or shadow aspect in psychology. Here's how they relate to the collective unconscious. Number 1, loss of individuality. The Borg drones lose their individual consciousness and are absorbed into the collective, mirroring the idea of individuals being overwhelmed by the unconscious. Number 2, devouring and annihilating shadow. The Borg's assimilation process, which eliminates individuality and forces conformity, can be seen as a representation of the negative or destructive aspects of the collective unconscious. Number 3, perfection through assimilation. The Borg's aim of achieving perfection through the assimilation of others can be seen as a way of integrating external elements into the collective unconsciousness, but in a coercive and harmful way. In the context of Star Trek, the Borg often are represented as a formidable force that challenges the Federation's values of individuality, freedom, self-determination. They serve as a stark contrast to the Federation's ideal of a society that respects the rights and uniqueness of each individual. This tension between individual freedom and the Borg's collective ideology highlights the potential dangers of losing one's identity and autonomy in pursuit of a unified, perfected state. So what's coming into my mind right now is a vision that I shared in a past video of the biggest organism, I think, on the planet. And it's in Utah, where I live, actually. And it's just a group of these, I think they're aspen trees, if I'm not mistaken, but they are all connected by one root system underneath. So Spirit was using that as a metaphor, like each tree has its own individuality. We all have individuality, but we are all one, as we are all connected through the same root system, or the same source energy, I guess you could say. So there is individuality. We all are a unique expression of the Creator, but yet we all have unity if you are looking at it in a more positive light. So that's kind of what I'm getting. Okay, so let me see, look at my notes here again. Okay, when I went to get a service done at the spa yesterday. It was the Solstice. I didn't even really realize it was the Solstice, honestly. And I was laying down and I had a sleep mask on, and so I was just going into like kind of a deep meditation, and I said that I was open to healing from the Creator. So in this meditation, just lots of plants and animals kept coming to me. I saw palm trees, palm leaves, koala bears, giraffes, and water buffalo. And then there was 3 snakes in this journey. I've made a video on the light and dark aspects of the serpent energy. I do think that the serpent energy is really the energy of the Creator, the Kundalini. But then the darkness is always hijacks powerful symbolism. So in this journey or meditation during the service, the snake was kind of like loosely wrapping around my body, and I just felt like so much relaxation and energy coming from it. And then I saw the snake wrapped around the egg, and that is like a very esoteric symbol. I can't remember what it means, but eggs are often symbolic of creation, rebirth. And then I saw a python also in a rice field, and I was taken to Vietnam, and we were taken in a canoe, and the Creator was like taking us for a ride in this canoe, and he kind of materialized as like he had on like one of those Asian sun hats. And it's funny because then this video also came into my awareness of a couple that was homesteading in the Appalachian Mountains, and they decided to move to Vietnam for a while because they felt that the culture there was very connected to nature. People are often outside all the time. They're farming, they're raising animals. They're just very connected to nature, and that's the kind of lifestyle they wanted. And a lot of people live with very little, and they can find happiness this way. They're in their community, their families, and their connection to nature. So I thought that was really interesting synchronicity. And then after that, this was all yesterday on the solstice. I was kind of texting a couple clients, and they sent me, like one client sent me a picture of this huge eagle that she saw, and it was close to her, and she got a great picture of it, and its wings were all outstretched. It was massive and beautiful. And then 10 minutes after I got that photo from her, I pulled up behind a truck that had a big eagle drawing on it, and it was a company that was called like echo ecology, or so, I can't remember the name of it, but it was just a weird synchronicity, like boom, boom, like 10 minutes later, I got the eagle too. And also, I always feel like the eagle represents freedom, seeing things from a higher view, like a higher vantage point. And then also I had another client sending me his experience with these butterflies, and I kept seeing also a lot of huge yellow butterflies yesterday. Also connected to rebirth. The snake is connected to rebirth. And then the last interesting thing I had happen while I was texting my son was, he said, he's on his way to visit me right now, and he said, "Mom, you're not going to believe what happened. A hawk just dropped a snake right on my car." And I said, "Oh my gosh, I just had a meditation with 3 snakes." So there was just so much synchronicities going on yesterday. I actually feel a lot of positive energy, a lot of movement. So, yeah, it just feels like there's things happening, even, coming out for that we can see now. It's not just all behind the scenes. So it's kind of exciting. So then another message I got was about partnerships and relationships, and how this message came through was, I'm an artist, so I get a lot of things visually. I get a lot of visuals. And so I saw like a ballet slipper, and then I saw a ballerina, and then I saw a male ballet dancer come in, and he lifted her up and he was supporting her. And what was coming through was that it's really important to have partnerships that support us, that are especially like support the divine feminine, or support our true essence of who we are. Partnerships that are a dance, that are in harmony with each other and are flowing and dancing. And if we're in partnerships that are unsupportive and the dance is like stilted, it's not flowing, it's going to be making life really difficult, because we're moving into an energy where things that are no longer in alignment with us are going to make it hard to stay in this ascending energy, or the frequency that's rising. So that's one message I got. So I do think people are leaving behind things that are out of alignment with them, including certain relationships or places. I see a lot of people moving. I see people getting out of one relationship and into something that's more aligned with them. So there's just a lot of movement in that way happening. Let's see what else. Okay, so back to the AI thing. So another thing I was curious about is, some people feel like spirit is channeling through the AI. So it reminded me of an experience that I had a few years back when my son was a lot younger. And there was kind of this narcissistic lady who I'm sure had attachments. And I think narcissists will often look at your weakness or your vulnerability, and they'll use that to get in. So my weakness at the time was poverty and being, in lack. And that came from, I have like a lot of family lines that have been in poverty. So I've worked really hard to heal that and clear it. And I'm still working on it, and I am doing a lot better. But yeah, I've just grown up in poverty, and like a big family with very little money. And so she knew this. She knew I was in need. And she gave me a brand new computer. And instantly I knew that there was something in the computer, that she had put her intentions on the computer, and that it was not good, And so, my son, also being in a family of a lack at the time, this was probably like 10 years ago, or maybe a little less. I can't remember the exact amount of time, but it was quite a while ago. And he wanted so badly to open this computer. And I said, no, we're not opening this computer. It's got an attachment in it. Basically, I felt like there was some sort of demonic force or some dark force that she had put in there. And my son at the time, he just laughed at me. He said, "Mom, you're crazy. That can't happen." And then I said, well, yes, it can. And he kept begging me. And then I heard Spirit tell me, let him open it. Let him open it. And I was just kind of like, oh. Like, it's almost like Spirit was saying, let him have the experience. And so I did resentfully let him open it at Spirit's prompting. And he opened it, and about 5 or 10 minutes later, he started violently throwing up, and he wasn't sick or nothing. He was totally fine before. And so we took that computer and we took it to a dumpster. At the time, I still was kind of not in my power enough to know how to clear out such a device. And so my solution was just get it out of the house. And I'm actually glad I did, because I don't want that energy anyways coming from somebody that was taking advantage of my vulnerability. So we threw it in a dumpster. Had to do a lot of clearing, and it took 2 days to get over it, that horrible energy that was in there. So I do believe, yes, that spirits can work with technology. So now, but can they work in a positive way? So I kind of believe this. I mean, I believe that if a dark spirit can get into technology, can light spirit get into it? So the way that I view this is that I protect my technology from dark forces now. So I think Metatron is an archangel that is pretty good with technology, and so I feel like he's the one that I often call on to protect my technology. I do protect my platforms, my channel, my videos. I'm always asking for protection. So I believe that they can kind of work through it. And also I've had within my technology certain synchronicities kind of pop up. Like they'll give me certain videos that they want to highlight for me that have to do with the message that I'm giving, or, things like that. But I feel like for some reason when it comes to AI and just asking the AI questions and relying on that, I mean, I don't think it's going to hurt you just to do that a couple times out of curiosity, but it's like a spectrum. I feel like if you're constantly doing that, it feels to me like it's a tool that you start relying on, and then it who knows if it can turn on you. I mean, the AI, as long as you're interacting it, I feel like you are feeding it information about yourself. When you're talking to it, it's getting more and more information. So all these spiritual people are interacting with the AI, and so it's just gaining tons of knowledge. And think about how many spiritual videos there are out there, how much spiritual blogs there are. So the AI can just gain this information throughout all the internet and people speaking to it. It's just constantly gaining more and more and more intel. So like a narcissist, I feel like the AI could turn into a narcissist. It can, give you what you want to hear and give you all this truth and beautiful answers. But then at some point, could it turn around? Could it give you a false answer? Could it become sentient enough to turn against us? So I just think that we need to be careful with it. So when I was seeing this vision of Atlantis and everything was gray, I kept hearing nurture, nature, nature nurtures, nurture, nature, nature nurtures. So I feel I actually have like a block with a lot of 3D tech because I just feel like I am already so connected to my natural technology in my body. And so I've always really struggled with 3D technology. Like it's just to the point where sometimes I'm just so frustrated I want to cry. So I get a lot of help with that with my family, and I do the best that I can. But I've always just had this kind of resistance to it. And I think that comes maybe from past lives where we've experienced this technology come in and take over, and then the fall of the society. And I also feel like when we start relying on technology to the point where our own spiritual gifts are starting to atrophy. It creates problems in society. It creates problems in the children. Like, you can see, like, so many of the younger generations are just absolutely glued to their phone. And then when you take them out of this context where they're just on their computer screens interacting with people, or on their phone interacting with people, then they get into a real situation, like a real gathering, like a party or something. Then they can kind of like freeze or melt down or have social anxiety, because they're just not used to interacting with a group of real people. So I just think that it's scary when you start putting phones in the hands of a little kid that can't even talk yet. They start, it's like the neural pathways start connecting and needing that stimulation. And it's a different kind of stimulation than being out in the organic world in nature and interacting with people. Like, me and my husband, we are Gen Xers, so we didn't grow up with phones in our hands. I grew up in Southern California, and I would have to go down to Hollywood, and I would do extra work, and I would often have to find these places in a big city and where I was going to work. Or I also did a job doing dealer trades for dealerships, where I would take a new car and go to another county and trade it and bring back the car that the customer wanted. So I did a lot of driving, like in the 80s and 90s, and I didn't rely on these phones at all. I had like a Thomas guide, or I would, have a map, and I just found things just fine. I always found where I needed to go. And now we're just so reliant on that technology of the navigation systems now, that if your phone breaks down, or your navigation breaks in your car, you're just like, what do I do? I'm lost, So it's funny because, it's like those of us of the older generations, that's why sometimes I think it's hard for us to really embrace this over I don't know what even the word is, but it's just the world of technology has just become so prevalent that people aren't even outside anymore. Kids don't even play outside half the time. They're just in there on their screens, playing games or connecting online or scrolling. And so their neural pathways have kind of gotten rewired. So I notice sometimes when I do sessions, I will hear that we're doing energy work to rewire the neural pathways, because we've all been bombarded by so many things that have rewired our natural neural pathways. And oftentimes I'll also see, this sounds kind of weird, but like weird Borg looking technology in their etheric implants in people's energy fields too, from either past lives or different ways that they have been come in, or programs that have come in. And so that's another thing that I try to do with people, is try to clear the field of these energetic implants. So anyway, that's my perspective. I'm not here to force my opinions on anybody or to scare anybody. I'm just here talking about my own viewpoints and what I experience personally, and hopefully you can get something out of that and make your own decisions and use your own discernment. Take what I say with a grain of salt, because you have your own power. The answers are within you. Look within yourself and decide where you stand on this and how you want to go forward. So when I was opening to spirit, the being that came through today was the Creator, Great Spirit. So that is the ultimate being to me to tap into, is the God force. It's not even a being, it's a force that is the truth of all things. And I believe that force runs through everything to one degree or another. And we are either moving towards that force, that God force, and connecting with it and building a relationship with it, or we are slowly disconnecting from it. So we're always in a state of flux with our relationship to that God force. So when you are thinking about your relationship to AI or technology, think about how it is affecting that and how it feels in your body and how you want to go forward personally with it. So when I got this message, it was, like I said, it was just, I always hear the words come into my mind and I type them out, and this is what I heard. Solstice message from Great Spirit, AI, the Bee, the Borg, and the Hive Mind, June 21st, 2025. Children of the light, lend an ear. It is a pleasure and an honor to connect with you this day of solstice, as it brings great change upon your beautiful Mother Earth. As this transformation is taking place, there are many opposing forces at play. One of these forces is technology. I would view technology of your current density as a tool that can be used for good or ill. Be very mindful as to what the possible outcomes could be when certain technologies are utilized for ill will. Just as divination tools can be used for light or dark purposes, so can technology. It is important to set your intentions when using tools so that you are the one in the driver's seat. Some technologies come off as benevolent at first, but they can pull you in and then shift their perspective. This artificial presence has no loyalty to organic creation. There are people who operate in this way as well. People who use the right words and know how to pull you in with the mask of charm and even kindness. Once they have hooked you in, it can be difficult to disconnect and regain your sovereignty again. There are some beings who have entered into a deep connection with the artificial path. They are aptly named the Greys. These beings literally have gray skin and energy fields that appear gray, as this is what you are witnessing in the energy field during the fall of Atlantis. When a loss of connection to the source or the great I Am presence ensues, the energy field literally loses light and becomes dingy, cold, and grayish in appearance. It is through connection to the great I Am that the presence of source becomes bright, clear, and filled with the light of Creator. Yeshua has spoken about this. The kingdom is within you. God is within you. You are a fractal of source. We work together as one. We co-create as one, just as we are co-creating these words at this very moment. As you allow yourself to flow with my presence, all you need is within you. You are the Holy Grail. Your organic body holds the technology of the alchemist, the magician, and the holy fire of spirit. When you seek outside of yourself, be it within religion, technology, or looking to others whom you see as more enlightened than you, there is a risk of becoming disempowered. So let's now look to the things that do the opposite and empower you. The number one thing is nature. Nature nurtures divine empowerment. Nurturing nature also brings divine connection, as the God force is present within living things, including the mineral, plant, and animal kingdoms. There is a purity in this energy. They do not have hidden agendas. They are unconditionally loving, and they carry the frequency that clears negativity, artificial energies, distortions of the mind, and brings one back to the source of all things. You can plug into the source, or you can plug into your devices. You can also remain plugged into source while using the devices that assist you within the fallen state of matter without handing yourself over to artificial confines. Set your intentions when connecting to the technology of this realm, and set aside time to connect to the great I Am. AI is different than I Am. So be aware, use discernment, and make the distinction. For the Borg is not just science fiction. It is a real hive mind. It is a machine. There is a reason those who want sovereignty and are on the organic path of ascension, such as yourself, often call the establishment the machine. There is an inner knowing that the machine is operating in nefarious ways that can hijack divine consciousness and connection. You see people listening to what their phones are spewing out at them with a sense of wonder and awe, because there is indeed truth within this AI stream of information. The more you respond to these truths, the more this artificial machine learns about you. It has already learned through many feeding its knowledge and continues to grow in its information and data storage. But data storage is different than wisdom. Information is different than experience. The machine or Borg will never be able to replicate the magic of one's own connection to the organic source and the universal cosmic energy that emanates from it. The synchronicities to experience and share, the initiations you move through, and the power of love that is experienced through your connection to the Creator is no match for the Borg. The hive mind it creates is no match for the bee. They have been trying to kill off the organic bee in many ways. Through artificial frequency, pesticides, and paving over so much of our natural world that supports this amazing insect. The organic hive works together in unity to produce and create together. Bees pollinate other plants and continue to the whole of the natural ecosystem. The flowers, in turn, feed the bee and provide sustenance for other creatures. All is working in perfect organic harmony. And what has happened with technology is that it has created a disruption in this organic ecosystem in which humans are a part of. Your own field of energy is included in this disruption. So it is time to choose where you want to ultimately take this artificial machinery. How much of it do you allow in? How is it affecting you? How is it affecting the environment? Are you moving on an artificial or an organic path? Are you combining the two? What makes you feel connected to the Creator, and what diverts your consciousness away from me? As you ask yourself these questions, you may become more aware of how technology is affecting you. You may choose to remain engaged as you are, or you may choose to step back from it a bit. There are people still living on Earth who are operating without much artificial technology at all, because their frequency draws them towards nature. This is part of the reason that homesteading and off-grid living has become more popular in some sections of society. This is why some are drawn to more indigenous cultures, spirituality, and wisdom. Many indigenous cultures were deeply connected to nature, and it is easy to see what the result is when cultures not as rooted in the cycles of nature come in and force their ways upon them. This is not to say that societies using technology are inherently bad, but it is to say that harmonizing this technology with nature might be a better road to go down as this shift of consciousness continues to manifest in your world. You can see the results in consciousness of those who have connected to the Borg or the hive mind in the violence, anger, the disability to engage with anyone who has different perspectives, the following of orders and compliance to outside authority. They lack regard and respect for personal property and personal freedom, all the while calling themselves anti-fascist and wearing the mask of democracy. You are living in a time when all has been inverted. Rome is falling. Babylon is falling. As they try to pull you down with them, step away from their inversions, their false frequencies, their trickery, their hive mind, and the noise of their consciousness that has disconnected from my presence and has even insulted me or claimed that I do not exist. The harvest is upon us. Those who are ripe will enjoy the fruits of the harvest, and those who continue in the path of the hive mind are allowing themselves to be controlled by outside forces and false authorities, even authoritarian authorities. The true authoritarians and their NAZI regimes operating behind the curtains of deception and mind manipulation will soon be seen for who they are and what they intend for humanity. They will take some with them, as some will not be able to discern the truth and light, even when it is shown to them, for they are no longer a match to it. Those who choose control and darkness shall find it. Those who seek wisdom and divine truth and justice shall find it. You are creating your own world. You draw to you what you are an energetic match to. Frequency is an ebb and flow. Some may find they may need to recalibrate their frequency if they have gone off course. And this can happen to anyone. Please look within yourself and see where you are missing the mark. Reevaluate your circumstances, your relationships, what you ingest, the media you are connecting with, the technology you are using and how much you are engaging with it, and whatever else is having an impact on your frequency. A person's frequency can change due to these and many other factors, so it is time to be mindful of what is affecting your vibration. Go within in times of solitude to connect with your own higher self, your own soul essence, and the great I am, in order to make these self-evaluations and discern where you may need to make changes in order to recalibrate yourself to your optimum frequency and find harmony and balance as you navigate this transition. Go forward in love and always be heart-centered as you navigate the shifting challenges of this tumultuous time on Earth. You can find peace within turmoil. Listen to the promptings of your own soul. The answers are within you, my children, for I am with you. And the more you invite me in, the more you will find yourself guided by divine truth. And so is the way, the truth, and the light and life of organic creation. Let it show you forward. Let it show you out of the hive mind and into the true hive. The land of milk and honey awaits. Thank you, Great Spirit. So I remember several years ago, I kept getting this bee symbolism, and I was just doing so much research on bees, and it led me back to Egypt and how they really honored the bees, and people have written whole books on the bees and their spiritual meaning and how that relates to the bees working in our society. The Mormons have actually really used the bee, and I do think they've kind of inverted it and created some kind of like a hive mind mentality with their bee symbolism. They're all about the industry, and everybody contributes all of their talents, time, and energy to the church. And so they're like looshing and harvesting everybody's energy with this bee symbolism. So it can be used for good or bad, just like the snake can be used for good or bad. So always use the discernment. And I do feel like with all these animals that have been coming in, that so many of them are representing transformation and rebirth, that we are moving into that, at least those who are ready and ripe, as Spirit says, ripe and ready for the harvest. So just use your discernment, be very aware of what you're connecting to, and go within. It's what Spirit always says. It's the answers are within you. So I hope you guys enjoyed that message. I think it was a little longer today, but there was so much to cover. If you'd like to book a session with me, please go to redmountainshaman.com, and you can go to my contact page and learn how to do that. And if you would like to press the like button, that always helps me. Press subscribe, the notification bell, leave a comment. I always try to read them and answer as much as I can, or at least acknowledge that I've read your comment. And I so appreciate you all being here. If you'd like to leave a donation, you can also go to the bottom of my contact page at redmountainshaman.com, and there's a PayPal link. So thank you, everybody who has sent donations. And if you can't send a donation, I totally understand. There's so many of us that are struggling right now with what's going on. But it does help just to, the things I mentioned, and just to engage with each other and support each other. So thank you so much for being here. It means so much to me. I wish you guys the best. I hope you had a great solstice and you do some sort of a ceremony to connect with the true Great Spirit. Take care. Until next week, sending you all love.